What's up, diet ditchers? How are you guys? Happy Wednesday. We are here again, just like every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So we come to you every Wednesday. My name is Coach Courtney.
I'm Coach Brandon.
And we are here every Wednesday at 11 o'clock to answer all of your questions. So every week we have a topic. If you guys are new to the group, what you will see, a couple things. We're going to ask you guys some questions. We want your feedback. We want to know what you need help with. We would rather serve you and actually help you and provide value and not just be talking heads. So on that note, when you guys jump on, give us a hello, give us a hi, let us know where you're watching from. If you catch the replay, drop a hashtag replay. But make sure you stay on for the whole time. Hi, Tiffany. We will have a winner. We'll drop a secret word sometime in the show, as we call it. So stay on for that and participate so you can get your chance to win a free one-to-one coaching call. So how's your Wednesday going, babe?
To be honest, I didn't even realize it was Wednesday. All day long, I felt like I've been rolling on a different day. So
good.
It's a good
Tuesday
Wednesday.
Or Thursday or what day?
I think it got thrown off yesterday. Yesterday I thought it was Wednesday. I think it tastes Thursday. But, hey,
well, hey,
rolling.
you know you got an extra day. All right, guys.
The week is rolling.
So we're going to talk today a little bit more nutrition based. So if you've been around, we talk a lot about the 4 pillars of wellness. So physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. So the nutrition side does feel a little bit more of that physical pillar. So we wanted to kind of talk to you about how to feel your workouts, some of the other things that we're actually seeing that's going on, we're actually seeing show up with our group that's in the 90-day shift transformation. So we're going to jump right in. Hi, Billy. How are you? All right, babe. So where do you want to start?
I think the part that we try to help people going through our shift program and also just the clients that we work with every single day is if there's an issue that we tend to see more often than not, and the reason why we coach the way we do is we compartmentalize, right? We compartmentalize, well, if I want this to get improved in my life, I'm going to focus 1,000,000% on that while the rest of my life goes by the wayside, right? Or the same thing when it comes to my workouts and my nutrition, right? Like I'm going to go gung-ho crazy in the gym, but when the 23 hours outside of the gym comes about, it's kind of wishy-washy, if at all. But I'm going to the gym, right? And so what we want to be able to help you guys understand that I don't care what it is. Everything works together. How you show up in your life is based off of what your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, how you talk to yourself, what you surround yourself with. All that's going to relate to that. What you put in your body and what you don't put in your body is how you look at yourself, how you identify yourself, the way your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, all those things. What you're trying to move yourself towards is going to revolve around all the same things, right? Like when basically what we found to be true is if I do one thing in one area of my life, it cascades and draws over into other areas of my life, right?
In good and bad ways.
In good and bad ways, right? Like I'm not just a superstar over here and then I'm a slacker over here, right? Like usually I have tendencies that go across every element, right? Same thing goes if I'm trying to produce the utmost health and vitality in my body, but my relationship with food is going to McDonald's and eating Big Macs and soft drinks and everything else, that message is incongruent, and I'm not going to get the results and the answers in what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I think it was funny. I had a one-to-one with one of our clients, and we were talking about congruency and how she was actually a graduate shifter, but how that message really landed. And you know, she's a very educated. She's a yoga person, so she gets all this stuff. And she goes, "It's crazy though how it didn't dawn on me how much all of this matters. Like what I think, what I say, how I act, what I eat, how I show up for myself, how I treat my kids. Like all of that stuff matters, right?" And so a lot of times, just an overview of this really quick, you guys, is what we see with a lot of our clients is it's like we all get stuck in the weeds. We're like, but what time do I need to eat breakfast? But I need to know this, and I did it all, you guys. Like, so I come from a place of like I'm speaking my truth too. Of like I wanted to know all of the rules and all of the boundaries, and if you could just tell me that one little thing that's gonna fix it, that like if I could just eat at the right time, if I had the best nutrient timing, or if I had the best macros, if I had all of this stuff, then it was all gonna work itself out. But what I wasn't looking at was like my self-talk and the fact that I actually had an eating disorder and I had a horrible relationship with food and what I was thinking and feeling. And it's like all of those little things that we get stuck in, it's like it's not the little things, it's the bigger picture and start there, and then we can work down into the minutia. Then we can really talk about how do you feel for performance, how do you do all that stuff, because yes, that's definitely a thing, but a lot of times we try to start with the top of the pyramid instead of the bottom of the pyramid. So how do we create that base in the bottom of the pyramid, and then what do we stack on top of that to make it even better and more congruent? But we often see that people, and it's because how we've been taught, it's the diet industry, it's all of that stuff, right? It's not that you just created this in your life. Like you got, someone told you that this is the way it was supposed to work. And all of those things came from a place of fear. But it's looking at what's the broader picture first, and then how do I create these other smaller pieces that fit in and make the results even better?
Well, I think it's also in the sense that you guys is oftentimes we love information, right? Especially nowadays, we're not shy of information, right? Like you can hop on any device, you can hop on anything, and you're gonna get bombarded with information. Mm-hmm. But I think oftentimes we get lost in the weeds, and we get lost in the minutiae and in the like nuances of the things that get thrown around in there, because the nuances get thrown around because they sell. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, really, like the nuances of intermittent fasting, nutrient timing, macronutrients, all those things, they sell, right? Because it's quote unquote different than what had been done previously. It's just labeled something different. And so the big thing that we try to help people understand is like, well, you're asking a question about nutrient timing. What did you do yesterday? Well, I ate a meal and a half, right? Like I basically ate a meal and a half all day long. It consisted of, highly processed foods. It kind of had some color in it. I had, nothing but Red Bull and coffee all day long. Well, right now, we don't even need to talk about nutrient timing. We need to worry about getting just real food into your system, right? So it's being able to be realistic. Like, where are you currently at in your journey, right? Like, what does your day-to-day look like? Are you somebody that, like what we've been taught and told of like, well, you should be having 6 to 8 meals a day. Well, if that's not realistic, that doesn't need to be true for you, right? But the goal there, you guys, is if we can have some consistency coming through. And honestly, what we teach is not complex, right? Like I promise you can reach out to every single shifter that has gone through our program. And what we teach, eat real food, don't eat too much of it, move around, get some sunlight, get some water, and make sure you get a variety of fruits and vegetables in your system. Like that's really what we teach. And it works time and time again. But I mean, trust me, there's amounts that we adjust those things to based off of your current history, based off your goals and everything else on that. But it's very simplistic, and it stands the test of time because it is so simple.
Right. Well, and I think that's the part that a lot of times we want to compartmentalize, right? Well, if someone just tell me what to eat and when to eat it, I could totally do it. Well, yeah, in a perfect world, but in a real world, there's emotions and there's schedules and there's stress and there's physiological things happening in your body. There's all these other things. And that's really what we go into is like, okay, well, it's, Brayden asked a question yesterday, like, is food I don't remember how he worded it, but like, is food the problem that you have, right? And there was a lot of people that's like, yeah, it's the food, or yeah, it's my, it's the emotional eating. And it's like, well, when you start to think about it, we got to peel back the layers, right? We always like to like it's easy to look at the surface level of things like, well, it's the food, it's my body, right? And I had an eating disorder. I had a horrible body image, and I really thought like it's just food in my body. If my body would just look a certain way, I could finally be happy, right? And of course it wasn't that, right? It was not if my body could finally look happy, but it was how can I accept my body, and how can I actually look at like how am I using food in my life, right? Like I was using it for control. I was using it, this is like kind of terrible to say, but I was bulimic, and I was using food to fill an emotional void. But then I was actually like moving, like as I was throwing up, like this is terrible to say, but like as I was throwing up, I was moving energy out of my body that needed to move, right? It didn't have anything to do with the food. It didn't have to do with the fact that I just couldn't say no to ice cream. It was feeling something else that was going on. And so it's really like, what we want you guys to start to look at is like, okay, what else is going on? So that we can see that like it's not just the food, and food can be an amazing part of your life, and it needs to fuel you. But if we don't understand a relationship with the food, then it's hard, and we make food the bad guy, even though food really isn't the bad guy.
Well, I think the part that we're trying to help our group going through right now is, I posed that question of, is food the biggest reason why you are where you are, or food is the biggest reason why you're not experience the things in which you want to experience. And for all of us, yes, food is my biggest drawback, but it's on the sense of, well, it's more of understanding of, it's no different than the conversation we have regarding carbohydrates, right? Like carbohydrates right now are the devil. Carbohydrates aren't the devil. It's how we utilize them as a culture in which we get the results in which we do, right? Like fruits and vegetables, they're carbohydrates, right? Like if you get plenty of those and they're going to nourishment and you use them in the right sense, you're going to see abundance and vitality in your life. But when we choose the alternative to that of highly processed foods, sugars, all the other things that we love to inundate with ourselves, then it leads us down the rabbit hole, right? But so many of them came back with the sense of like, well, I emotionally eat. But yet again, it's not necessarily the how, right? Like it's not following the Atkins, the Mediterranean, the whatever else that may be. It's more importantly of understanding why do you do what you do, right? Because our utmost goal for every single person that goes through our program and every person that we coach is to be able to intentionally and intuitively eat. But if you don't understand why you do what you do, there's no intuition behind it. Well, I'm just following this thing blindly, but I fall off the rails, right? Like when I intermittent fast, but then all of a sudden I decide that I'm going to eat a meal, and then all of a sudden I end up binge eating. Well, I'm intermittent fasting, so why am I not getting results? Well, perhaps because you're not, first off, perhaps you're starving yourself and you're calling it intermittent fasting. And then when you do decide to, because you're going down the normal dieting culture of restricting your biology. And so once you do open the door of that, then you can't help but overconsume because your body's trying to meet its needs biologically, right? And so it's being able to see.
Dieting will cause binging.
It restricts.
100%.
Like restrictive patterns are only meant because your body needs to replenish the things in which it's going to keep you alive. All right. And there's a way to get the results that you want with giving yourself nourishment, vitality, all these things. But it's also in the sense of if you feel food is the biggest culprit for why you are where you are, and essentially it's the enemy. Even if you trusted me as a coach and I all of a sudden say, hey, the biggest thing that you're missing right now is more food, but you internally think food is the enemy, what's the likelihood that you're going to allow yourself to get more nourishment in the system? Even if you may know intellectually of like, yes, I'm underfed. Emotionally, I'm fearful that food is going to make me fat, right? So it's not just the sense of, is this good or bad? What do you interpret that to be? Right? Because we can tell you all day long, well, the nutrients in this food is not going to make you fat. It's not what I say is important. It's what you hear is what is.
And what you believe,
yes.
Right? I mean, I went through that for years, and like, it was a big struggle for me because I was grossly underfed for a very long time. And I started wanting to have, a desires of doing better in the gym. And Brandon's like, you need to eat more, babe. I see what you eat. Like, we still have this conversation, if we're being honest. Like, you need more food. You need more food. You need more food. But, like, for 25 years of my life, it was like, well, I have to be in a caloric deficit if I want to look the way I want to look. So it was like, I could hear him, but, like, my lack of trust in myself or in dieting or in my body or in all of that, I was like, I can hear what you're saying and my logical brain can totally understand it, yet I wouldn't eat enough, right? And so it was like I had to deal with the emotional piece of like, just taking some blind trust and believing that if I filled my body with good fuel and good food, that my body would respond, right? And it was a leap of faith, right? Because I had to break those patterns and those beliefs that like less is more. I mean, literally, you guys, I was like, anything more than 1,200 calories is a bad idea. And he's like, babe, you should be having like 1,800 calories. And I'm like, you're on crack. Like, there's no way my body can handle that. So it took some steps and it took some trust, but you have to understand, if someone tells you, go do this thing, your logical brain might believe it. And you might be like, okay, that's just the thing I need to do. And you might do it for a short amount of time, right? Like, why challenges suck people in. You might be able to do it for a short amount of time, but if you don't look deeper into the beliefs and the thoughts and the feelings, like, you're gonna go back to doing what you were doing, right? And so we want you guys to understand is, yes, we can give you nutrition advice, and we're gonna talk about nutrition right now, but like, if we don't understand how the information is coming into our brain and we don't actually implement it. That's the other thing, is like we get in these cycles of learn. We never take any action. You're never going to know if it works or doesn't work, right? And there's a thing about, you just have to start taking action. But if you don't look at the thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs, like if you believe that you have to intermittent fast, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, like, we're not attacking intermittent fasting, but if you believe that you have to intermittent fast, and you also want to, get better results in the gym, and you work out at 5 a.m. and someone tells you that you need to have breakfast at 6, and you're like, but I have this belief that I can't eat till 11, what's the likelihood that you're going to eat at 11? It's none. You're not going to do it, right? So if we don't start to shift the beliefs and look at where those beliefs came from, you could have the best plan, the best nourishment, the best chef. It's not going to work, because in the long term, you're not going to end up actually like leaning in and sticking to it.
Well, I think and everyone has their own train of thought of like what method works best as far as, eating goes, right? There's cultures all across the world that eat differently, right? But if there's one consistency, like you'll find across every method that's out there, it's
Eat real food.
well, it's on the sense of how well you follow the plan.
Oh yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's how well you consistently follow the plan. I can't think of the term for it right now, but essentially it's how well you follow the plan, right? Like a plan is only as good or as well as you can follow it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it can be the best plan of all time, but if you can't follow it consistently,
Execution.
That's thank you. If you can't follow it and you can't execute it consistently, it's not a good plan. Right? Like it may have all the bells and whistles and scientific data and everything else, but if it isn't realistic for your life and your lifestyle and meeting you in the sense of what you're able to show up for it every single day, it won't work.
Yeah, and you can't say it doesn't work, right? Like we had people in the past that have been like, well, I've been doing this thing, and then you look at it and it's like, well, okay, 3 out of the 4 days of the week, or even 3 out of the 7, right? You followed the plan. But the other 4 days you didn't follow the plan. It's like you're not executing the plan. So you can't say that plan and that strategy didn't work because you didn't actually execute, and you didn't do it for a long period of time. So what we want you guys to understand is, how do you create strategies and systems so that you can execute, so it does feel expansive, so it does feel like something you can do forever, and then you can actually go, okay, physiologically, is this serving me? Where do I need to make changes? Okay, so I think we did pose the question of like, so many people, we go, like, you guys are going to the gym, you're doing the work, you're putting in the effort, and you're not getting the results that you desire, right? And I also lived that, so I completely understand this. So if we really want to fuel for our workouts, Brandon, what are like the top 3 things they can do to really make sure that they're actually fueling their bodies for performance?
So I think is, first off, understanding that information is good, but it's potential power, right? And it's also understanding of you are literally your own separate entity, right? Like you are your own science experiment, right? Like data shows us certain things, but literally your internal makeup is like the fingerprint on my thumb right now. It is as individual to me as it is to that my internal environment is to me, right? Like her internal environment is different. The person sitting next to you, we're all different, because your gut, your function, your internal, all those things are made up of how you were born, how you breathe, the things you meant, the stress you did, literally from hour to hour to day, that thing changes. All right. So we want to be able to see, like, why we always say our own experiment is because we want to be able to use data, right? Like we always try to come from a place of non-judgment, of seeing, okay, what are we putting in and what are we getting out, right? And so first off, it's understanding, okay, what is the outcome that you want, right? Like it's a first off understanding, like, what is the ultimate outcome you want? Well, I want to lose body fat. I want to run a marathon. I want to get a PR today. I want to show up to the gym, right? I want to go play with my kids. Whatever that may be, is understanding what is the outcome you want. Because most of us, from my experience, well, I don't even know. I'm doing the things that I'm told to do because this is what I'm supposed to do. Well, if you don't even know the outcome you want, how do you draw the blueprint to get to where you want to go, right? So it's first understanding what is it that you want. But if there's a consistency, I would say, across every group that we've worked with that has been out of the Diet Ditchers platform, is 99.999% of you guys are underfed and undernourished. You guys don't get enough food. Right, because most of you guys want to lose weight, you want to lose body fat, you want to do these things, and logically, the thought is less is more, right? The less that I eat, the more fat that I will lose. And I imagine most of you guys, you're finding out that that isn't true, right? Like the less does not equal more, right? And the other part of that is, well, if less isn't more, me calorie restricting isn't really leading results. Maybe working out longer and harder is going to get me the results, right? And so if I'm already, it's kind of the thing of I don't. The mechanical analogies, I think they hit, but they're not really necessarily an apple and apple, right? But if I'm trying to essentially drive across the country and my gas tank is already on E, and now I'm going to not even drive across the country, I'm going to go to try to drive across to another continent, the likelihood that I'm going to get there is zero, let alone like I'm going to get there in a timely manner, right? And so what we try to do is we try to not only, well, if a little bit is good, more has to be better. And so it's on the sense of, if there's one thing that we probably see as two constants across that, well, I'd say three, is first off, not getting enough protein. All right. For most of you guys that are wanting to lose body fat, wanting to get more out of your workouts, is increasing your muscle tissue, right? Like you want to increase your metabolic function, metabolic rate, increase your muscle mass, get stronger. If you want longevity in your life, muscle is the fountain of youth, right? Like every disease that you see as we get older comes with a decrease in muscle tissue. Lack of individual function, lack of higher incidence of diabetes, over obesity, osteoporosis, all those have been associated with decrease in muscle tone and muscle function. All right. So if you want longevity, you want to increase your metabolic rate, do the things that are going to promote more muscle tissue, more muscle.
Guys, the secret word, #muscle. Let's give us a #muscle, because
Were you just waiting for that?
Yeah, I just came to me. So #muscle if you want to be entered into the drawing. You can do this on the replay as well. So if you want a live one-on-one coaching call with us, drop #muscle, because we all want more muscle. Okay.
So increasing your protein. All right. Now I'm not telling you go out and go slam a bunch of supplements and whey protein and everything else. No, get actual real food that you have to chew and digest. All right.
We always believe in real food.
Yes, real food first. The next one on there would definitely be, well, I'll go with 4. I'm just going to keep throwing these things out, okay? So
let's start with 3. You're running out of time.
The second one would definitely be more fruits and vegetables, all right? More nutrients in your system, more nutrition in your system is going to promote better vitality, better function, right? Like it's not just like go eat your vegetables because mom told you so. No, we want to be able, the more nutrients you get in your system, the better functions you're going to get, right? Like even something as simple as magnesium. Magnesium has I think they found over 600 functions now to date inside your body. If you are deficient in magnesium, yet again, I'm not telling you to go get a bunch of supplements because you might or might not be magnesium deficient. But if you are deficient in that, that's 600 functions inside your body that are being affected negatively, right? So the more you get in variety as far as fruits and vegetables, the more nutrients you're going to get in your system, which means the operating systems behind the things you're trying to promote is going to function better. All right.
Randy, thank you for the #muscle. I just want to say something really quick because it's kind of funny. This is like the second time we've sort of chatted today about carbohydrates are bad, right? And Brandon was talking about carbs are bad. But if you think about it, fruits and vegetables are all carbohydrates. Can you imagine someone coming up to you and being like, fruits and vegetables are bad? Because, logically, we all know that's not true. We all know that our moms were super smart and they told us to eat fruits and vegetables. So it's starting to change that belief and that disconnect of, what do you mean by carbohydrates? But just when you said that, I was like, that would sound really silly if we were like, fruits and vegetables, if you want to be healthy, fruits and vegetables are definitely bad. You should stay away from them.
No, go back to my days when I was in college being taught the things in which I was taught and found out that they aren't actually the things that hold up to long-term health. Was literally every single nutrition class I went through for 2 years was literally we had to do a week-long journal of what we ate, and the professors would come back of, you eat too many vegetables. You need to have more whole grains.
They actually told you that,
yes.
Didn't they?
You're getting way too many fruits and vegetables. You need to get more whole grains. Now, this was the time in which the food guide pyramid was the thing in which that we were being taught, which was 6 to 11 servings of pasta and whole breads and everything else. Lo and behold, no wonder why our nation's in the state it's in. Mm-hmm. All right, so it's on the sense of, yet again, it's real whole food.
Yep.
You got to chew it. You got to digest it. Right. The third one would be water. All right, most of us are dehydrated. Most of us are dehydrated. Most of us walk around in a state of non-function, right? Like your body is upwards of 70% water, right? Like even 3% of dehydration or lack of water, you see a substantial drop in cognitive function, a lot of loss of just performance breakers. You see a lot of just decrease by just simply being 3% off, right? And I would say the last one would be sleep. Sleep, I would think, would be the biggest one probably of all, right? And I mean, I can hold my hand up high and say, you know what, there's one area that I lacked in for a long time was getting enough sleep. But yet again, when we're sleeping, you guys, there's a lot of repairs going on. There's a lot of neurological factors going on. That's how your body recovers, right? And if there's one thing that we try to promote to our athletes more than anything is take more ownership of your recovery, not doing more inside the gym, right? Like, I think Jen posted that the other day. Would you rather spend more time or get more results? And unfortunately, a lot of people are like, well, I'd like to spend more time. I'd like to get harder workouts.
And it's okay to enjoy the gym. Like,
yes.
We love the gym. We love exercise. But like, it's, and we fall into this. We fall into this. We athletes that fall into this is like, well, if I want to be better, I have to do more. More is not the answer. Better is the answer, and better recovery is really the answer.
No, because right now, I mean, if you're really honest with yourself, are you working 8 hours but only getting 4 hours of pay? I mean, really, if you look at it, how much time do you spend working your tail off and doing all these things, but you're putting in 8 hours of effort, but you're only getting 4 hours of pay? What if you could flip that, right? Like, what if you could work for 4 hours and get 8 hours of pay, right? It's working smarter, not harder, right? And usually it's, as long as we've been doing this, it's usually it's 10 times more simple than you think it is. Yeah. I mean, literally. Eat whole foods, make sure you chew, make sure you digest, make sure you do those things, get, half your body weight in ounces of water, make sure that you're moving around, getting sunlight throughout the day, and make sure that what you're eating is mainly plant-based. And I'm not talking about the plant-based stuff that tends to be out there right now of like transitioning over the processed other stuff, but make sure that your nourishment consists of mainly plants.
Yep.
All right, so that'd be fruits and vegetables.
Get some sleep. Get some recovery, listen to your body, right? If you feel exhausted, then take a little time, right? Like it's just not as hard as we craft it to be. So, is that it? What time is it? It's time. Ooh, 2 minutes, you guys were on it. So, hopefully that helped you guys. If you do have specific questions, let us know. But this is just your invitation to really look at, like, overall, how are you doing, right? Like, are you taking care of these pillars? Are you doing any mindfulness practices? Are you actually getting enough rest? Because for a lot of times, that's the missing piece. And I mean, I'll tell you guys, like, when Braden was competing to go to the CrossFit Games, he had the food dialed in, he had the training dialed in, he did not have the sleep dialed in, and that was the piece that he was missing. But it was so hard for him to see that when he was in the midst of it. So just come back, watch your life from like it was a movie, and go, okay, where do I really need to lean in a little bit more, and how could that really change my life? And just know that changing one of those things will dramatically affect the other parts of your life and get you to those goals and feeling healthy and happy a little bit faster. So,
well, and honestly, kind of what Court just said there is take a step back sometimes, right? Because we get so locked into the things in what we are doing, right? Like we get almost like that cognitive bias of like, but I am going to the gym, but I am eating a fruit today, right? Like, okay, well, you're going to the gym, but what does the rest of that 23 hours of the day look like, right? Like, how much stress are you having in your life? How much sleep are you having in your life? What are your relationships like in your life,
and
right?
Observe it without judging it.
And look at it and take it from an honest look. It doesn't have to be judging of like you're a horrible human being, but oftentimes you guys are just seeing it from the outside of like, man, you know what? No wonder why I'm overly tight. Look at how I sit. Look how I breathe. Look at all these things, right? Like, it gives you a sense of hopefully empowerment to see of like, you know what? If I make this little change, maybe I'll see a big return in what I'm doing.
Yep. So awesome, you guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Be on the lookout next week. We're going to be doing a hormone masterclass. So we talked a little bit about hormones last week, but we're going to have a masterclass next Thursday, which is May 5th. At 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We will have a sign up for you guys to sign up. It's $37, I think, for the class, but Anyway, so if you are a current shifter, if you're in one of our programs, you got that as a bonus, so that's available for you guys. But if you're not part of our program, you want to join that. We're really going to talk about all the hormones and all the stuff that hormones are so intriguing to me, and I'm not a science person, so Brandon just explains it to me because I don't like reading about it, I'm going to be honest. But when you start to go, oh my gosh, so this thing is happening, and then my body's stressed out, and this is why it's doing it, and it's like, wow, it's not just the calories, it's not just the exercise. When you really start to go, like, hormones are super smart and they have a lot of power in your body. So how do we actually use them to work for us instead of against us, which is what a lot of us are doing. So keep your eyes out for that class. Again, that's next Thursday, May 5th. But we'll see you guys back here next week. If you watch the replay, don't forget to drop #muscle and replay and any questions that you have. But we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, y'all.